Hey guys, welcome back to Yugi Pools. Today we got a deck build profile 101 for our Paleo Frogs deck, created by our very own Anti-Meta Knight. In case you guys didn't know, this guy's totally awesome! At Paleo Frogs. Anyway, bad jokes aside, let's get on into the deck build profile. Okay, very important. I want to give away this box of Rage of Ra. It's box number 609 here on the bottom that you can see. I want to give this box away. I'm trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of October. So to qualify to get this box, if I have 100 subscribers by the end of October, to get it, you need to be a public subscriber. You need to like and comment on the video listed right above for the Winged Dragon of Ra deck profile. So click on that video, like it, comment on it, and be a public subscriber by the end of October to be entered a chance to win this box. I want to give this away, guys. Please get me my first 100 subscribers. Awesome. All right, back to the video. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off everything for this deck build with the Frog engine. So it looks like we're first going to run 3 Swap Frog. Is that right?
It's pretty standard. If you're not playing 3, you're playing it wrong.
All right.
But yeah.
I like how you're running some ultis there.
Well, I've played this deck for years. I figured I may as well hollow it out. So standard Frog engine.
Okay.
Nothing unusual there.
The double Ronin, couple dupe. Yep.
Sometimes I have a build where I play 1 flip-flop Frog because it non-targeting removes stuff, and it also is an extra name to banish. But in this build, I decided to go Gradle
Wait,
Slime
what?
Jr.
Gradle Slime?
Yeah. Sometimes you need more bodies, more waters, more ways to make Toad. Gradle Slime's the way to do it. So
Okay, that's some spicy tech.
yeah, so I'd tech that in. It helps you build some pretty big boards, and sometimes that Gradle Slime Jr. is just the push you need to win the game.
What is, as an extender, what does he help you build?
So he can special summon a Gradle from the graveyard, and then a monster from hand with the same level as the one you special summon.
Oh, level 2, water, yep.
Exactly. So he summons, most of the time, Swap Frog straight from hand, and then Swap dumps a thing for free. So you can make 2 Toads with 1 card.
Nice.
Arguably 2 cards.
Double trouble.
But yeah, and then hand traps. The only monster in hand trap is Ash Blossom. So
Okay. So wait, so is this the end of the monsters? You're not running any more monsters in this?
that's it. Just those monsters. It's trap deck. So
Oh boy.
trying to keep it on the trap side.
Better watch out for those Jindo decks.
You know, I did face one once on Dueling.
Oh, for real?
A Dueling book, and yeah, it wasn't pretty. Let's just say that.
Have you seen one at locals yet?
No, I haven't. I don't think anyone's trying to play it. But yeah, we got some spells here. Our 2 draw spells. We have Card of Demise and Pot of Desires.
Okay, wait. So why one of each? Why only one desires?
Well, obviously that's limited, but 1 Desires. So the deck doesn't rely on having card advantage for your draws. It is nice to have sometimes, but I'm trying to maximize on having trap cards. And the Desires just doesn't let me do that if I have 3 of them. I also don't want to see it half the time because it disrupts the synergy in the deck by banishing key cards.
Okay, so more of your paleo cards.
Paleos, Frogs, the Ronins. The last time I played this at a tournament, I actually banished 2 Ronin Totems, so I was very sad. But at least I didn't draw 2 Pot of Desires off of it.
That's still epic rip.
Yeah. Foolish Burial. So this works really well with all the cards. If you open Swap Frog plus Foolish, you have Toad. If you open Gradle Slime Jr. plus Foolish, you have Toad. So it's just a good card to help out the other monsters in the deck.
In deck then, so you start drawing more into your traps.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I hold on to it. If I didn't open either of those, then I just hold it and then wait until I draw one of the 2 to know when I'm going to Foolish.
All right.
And Scapegoat.
Oh, nice.
The Scapegoats just win you games. You flip it up on your opponent's end phase, your turn, you make a Boral Sword with them or something. So it just wins games on its own.
I'd also like to point out that this deck is much more expensive than it needs to be because of all the ultimate rares.
I like the deck. It's not all max rarity, but a lot of it is. Yeah. On to the trap lineup. It's a paleo deck, so where would we be without common Olenoids, because Konami won't give us super rares.
Yeah, well, just keep begging.
They keep teasing us, but they won't give them to us. 3 Canadia, so Book of Moon. You're trying to go first. It's good at disrupting your opponent from link plays or any extra deck types of plays. It blocks an attack. It's kind of one of those that you can just shotgun if you want to put a Paleo in the graveyard. So it's a pretty good card to have in here.
Are there any other like missing Paleozoic cards or anything in here that like you would expect to see in a standard build and you've kind of modified it for your own playstyle or what you're kind of seeing?
Definitely.
Or, okay.
Most people play Dino Mischief. It's amongst the top 3 best ones with these 2 other ones. I'm actually not playing it right now. Then I'll show you why here in a minute. But Dino Mischief I was playing it prior to the release of certain cards in this deck, which are Ice Dragon's Prison.
Ooh, too strong.
One of the best cards released in 2020. I kind of want to say it's the best card released 2020.
I remember when it first got released, it was getting slept on. And then everyone realized all of a sudden, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks right after it got released, like, oh my god, this card's amazing. And it just got bought out. Like
Exactly. I mean, besides Dragoon, this is probably the best card of 2020. So it's a trap deck. It's easily accessible. It gives you card advantage. It disrupts your opponent's graveyard and field. It's just too strong not to play. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this card got hit on the Forbidden and Limited list one day, maybe to 2, maybe
yeah,
1.
I could see that.
So, then the last of the hand traps, Imperm. I play based on the concept of let your opponent build their board and then pick it apart because they wasted all their resources. So I'm not trying to use too many hand traps to stop them from getting to their board. I like to let them get to their board and then take it apart.
Gotcha. I can't wait to see these Imperms in Gold Rare. Like, it better be in the set.
Konami keeps teasing. We'll see. Back to the front. So I started running this when Toad got limited, and I still play it now. It has a lot of uses. Swap Frog can send Swap Frog to the grave to set it up. If you negate with Toad, you can bring Toad right back for another free negate. You can bring back a Dupe Frog to block an attack. It just has a lot of uses. It's a free body on board, and if there's a Paleo engraved, basically one card plus a Paleo makes Toad.
So now that Toad's not limited anymore, it's semi-limited. I see you still have the 2 in your deck. Are you going to switch those out for Dino Mischief? Have you thought about that, or are you thinking no, you don't want to for some reason?
I kind of never liked playing Dino Mischief that much. I did because it banishes stuff and it outed cards on the field. It targets. That's kind of the problem with it right now. And even though it would be extra Paleo names, it requires you keep good cards in your hand so that you can disrupt your opponent. And it's not worth it, in my opinion, to have to discard a good card when every card in your deck should be, in theory, a good card.
Okay.
1 trap trick.
Wait, 1?
It's a trap deck.
It's a trap deck, right? Like, what are you doing with just 1 trap trick?
Okay, so here's the theory behind it. You don't need it. It's a blank slate, so it becomes an extra copy of each of your cards for the most part. It gives me access to the stuff that I want to see sometimes, but it locks you into 1 trap card for the rest of the turn. And if your opponent baits you into using it because you really need to resolve it, you're out of luck on using the rest of your trap cards.
Oh.
So I don't want to rely on it. It just is an extra name.
Okay.
Basically.
All right.
Then we have the continuous trap cards. So using your opponent's resources with Ice Dragon's Prison to set them back is a good strategy. And for the same reasons, Crackdown is also a good strategy to run. You steal your opponent's stuff, you give yourself something, and you take something away from your opponent. It's just a really powerful card overall that can end their turn if you do it at the right time.
In today's meta, what are you normally trying to hit with this one? Like, is there a certain card?
It depends on the deck, really. Like, for example, if somebody's making Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche, you're going to steal that because you don't want them to resolve it. So it really just depends on the deck. Dragon Link, you steal a key card like Romulus, so that way they can't keep climbing into their links. There's really a lot of things you could steal. It just depends on the scenario.
You just want to make sure it's targetable.
Yeah. If only you could steal Dragoon. Last continuous trap, Imperial Order.
Oh, Imperial Order.
Yeah, my lovely common Imperial Order. I just don't want to carry around the translation, quote unquote, for the updated card text by playing a hollow version of it. So I'm just playing the common. And then for the counter traps, we have 3 judgments. The point of the deck is to summon a card that says no to everything. So why wouldn't you play 3 of a card that says no to everything? So, and it can
playing that rarity though is more like no because I have money. No.
Yeah. Well, I thought to pick all this stuff up.
It's like a pure Seto Kaiba move.
Spiked. Yeah. And then the final counter trap in the deck is strikes. Every deck plays monsters, and at some point you're going to want to stop one of them, so why not stop it for cheap?
No, fair point. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving from here, I think we're going into the extra deck next.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that was the main deck. And now, our Ribbity boy. The guy you're all too familiar with.
Totally, bro.
Because Konami says I'm not allowed to play with more than 2, so I guess I'll play with 2. That's fine. I've noticed in playtesting, in half my duels, I don't need the 3rd. In the other half of the duels, I wish I had the 3rd, but it's okay that I don't.
Well, there you have your back to the front.
Back to the front mitigates the fact that you don't have the 3rd, so it's okay.
Okay. Just to everyone zoom in on your favorite Toad and your favorite Froggy Toady boy. So pretty.
A ribbit.
So pretty.
Then we have 1 Paleo Animalakaris. So this one, Zoodiac Trident got banned for a reason. This card is Zoodiac Trident, but a little better. So it's unaffected by monster effects. Why wouldn't you play it? Now, I hear a lot from people who think they've played this deck before that they never make it. And I say you're playing the deck wrong if you never make it. I've considered playing 2 of this at one point because I needed to make multiples. And then continuing the rank 2s, we have the Sky Cavalry Centauri. Generic rank 2. Sometimes I steal a level 2 monster. It's rare these days. They're not in the meta right now.
But it looks like you've got the extra deck space. I mean, judging from your main deck, it's not like you're running something that's going to take up extra deck space like Numeron Network or anything. So you can play a couple cards that you may, summon once every like 2 weeks or something, but it's there.
Sometimes I only have 2 monsters to deal with something that can't be destroyed or targeted, and he's non-targeting removal.
Okay.
So, and that 2000 attack is also decent, and he can't be destroyed. Then for the links, we have Link Karibo. You play Scapegoat, so you have to play Link Karibo. There's just no getting around it. Link Spider. This has multiple uses. The Scapegoat is one of them. Usually you don't need it for the Scapegoat, but for other plays, sometimes you have a Paleo on the field and you have some frogs and you need to turn the Paleo into an effect monster. So that's where the Link Spider comes in.
Nice.
Nightmare Phoenix. It's just good to pop back row, get a free draw sometimes, but it's mostly used just for the Scapegoats. It's 2 different names, so you link these 2 away and then you bring this back from the graveyard and now you have different names.
And it gives you your pop effect.
Exactly. IP, also for the Scapegoats, mostly.
Too good.
But it also acts as disruption. Sometimes you need to make it to end on more of a threatening board so that you can spin their stuff away with Unicorn. Mech Knight Avermax. The deck is already, I'm going to defend myself. This card is a castle, and if your opponent has trouble outing this, they're going to have even more trouble outing it with back row present. Borosword. The deck can easily make Borosword when you have your frogs going. If you end on Toad with a material, your opponent, if they don't remove it, then you can OTK with it the next turn. So, because 1 Toad can easily make a Link 4. So, that's in there for that. And Borreload, which I feel is the most stable out of all Link 4s in the game right now. It's just non-targeting removal. You can steal whatever you want and then attack them with it.
He's always been a good boy.
And lastly, a little bit of a hint towards the side deck. We have our 3 Waking the Dragon targets. Naturia Exterio, Last Warrior from Another Planet, and Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. there are a lot of decks that can't out Last Warrior of the Planet. It's becoming more and more prevalent because of a lot of effect negation, but with your back row, you're usually able to stop them if they happen to draw the one card and just keep punching them with it. And Ultimate Falcon, 3500, unaffected by everything. There's been a couple decks where they didn't have an answer to it, and I just kept punching them and they would lose. So Naturi Exterio was more relevant in the past with Sky Strikers. These days, it's still okay. It just depends on if you run into a trap-heavy lineup. Ultra Guys have a monster that can out it, so it's not the best. But there are reasons to use Exterio, mostly against trap-heavy decks.
Nice. Well, just to give some color as well. So obviously you can build this deck whichever way you want to. Once you take the core package that we've talked about, then you can start adding in your spicy tech, your player choice cards. About how many duels, like how many times have you used this deck competitively or even just at locals, wherever you want to say, to come up with this sort of build? Because obviously you're building it based on what you're seeing in the area and what you're hearing about what the metagame is doing. What kind of influence? How many hours? I want to say hours, but like how many times have you used this deck to then come to these conclusions?
I started playing this deck in 2018, so 2 years ago, and I've just adapted it every single meta format change to the oncoming meta. I look at what the decks are doing, I look at what traps exist and at what the best traps to disrupt them are, or if they build a really good board, how to break that board. And it just changes from format to format.
I will say I've seen you with this deck for a long time now. Like you've always got other decks. You'll run something. You're trying to tech a bit more like Herald, or you're trying to play something else as well. But like in the end, you'll always bring this back up too. You're like, oh, yeah. How about some frogs? Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun deck. I've always liked frogs since I started playing the game over a decade ago now, and they've just always been fun.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. So moving to the side deck.
Let's do the side deck.
The real spice.
Okay, so first off, you kind of saw a little bit, but we have our Waking the Dragons. Now that Harpy's Feather Duster is legal, people are still playing Cosmic and Twin Twister and plenty of other cards that wipe the back row. And Phantom Rage is coming up. Double A Zeus is coming out in that set that wipes all the cards on the field. With stuff like that, we're becoming more and more prevalent where they're trying to get rid of your back row. Summoning something off of Waking the Dragon is just too good not to do. So
yeah, especially because like if you don't play it in that first game, they're not going to expect to see this because they're going to be focusing on just trying to wipe that back row for the real problem cards, and then this is going to pop up, and it's going to be a big surprise.
Exactly. And so Lightning Storm's a thing. A lot of people aren't playing it right now, but Harpy's Feather Duster is also seeing a lot of play. So you can chain Trap Trick and set one of these straight from your deck when they do that. So I've done it a couple times, even though I'm only playing the one. I flipped Trap Trick, set Waking on a few.
It essentially gives you 4 of them.
Essentially, yeah. Like I said, it's just an extra copy of each of these cards. 2 Heavy Storm Dusters. I needed something for the back row matchups. Those are the harder ones. Like the meta decks, they're pretty easy because they're very linear and you just stop them and then you summon Toad and Snowball,
yes,
where they're tripping over their toes. So I needed something to help combat those decks. Harpy's Feather Duster is definitely, or Heavy Storm Duster. Speaking of, also Harpy's Feather Duster. That card's too good not to play.
You gotta get all your dusters.
Exactly. It was banned for the longest time, so we're playing it.
If the card name is Duster, include it.
Yes. 3 evenly matched. Again, back row matchups.
Such a great card. I don't know why this one, I don't think this is going to be in the new structure deck for the new Charmers.
We already got the list.
That's so dumb.
It sucks. Konami, they screwed us over when OCG got it in common. We don't.
Well, it's just this card's been out for so long now. You'd think the more, like, the budget players, right? They have a right to get to this card, too.
Yeah. As of making this video, I mean, the cheapest copy of this is $19 right now.
That's just too much when you got to run 3 of them.
Yeah. So, and then we have 2 Phantasmes. I consider.
Would you run a third? Would you run a third if you weren't lending it to someone?
Actually, right now with this current list, no, I actually wouldn't play the third right now. It's okay. You like to see it against certain decks, but you don't have to see it It gives you a body to actually attack with. It fixes your hands. It's decent. It's more so in here to help you get to your other side deck cards. That's the main reason for it, because a lot of the side deck, 90 some odd % of people aren't going to let you go first, so you're trying to go second. So you break your opponent's board. Like I said, that's kind of the deck theory behind this, is you let your opponent do their thing, and then you pick everything apart, and they're out of resources.
I agree. I will add too, I think I'm seeing a fairly good rise in going second decks for this very reason, because the majority of what's been happening is everyone wants to go turn 1, set up the crazy board. So people are like, well, I'll just do a turn 2 deck. I'll do a turn 2 deck. Well, now enough people are doing it, I'll do a turn 2 deck. Now you're running into the turn 2 decks while you're a turn 2 deck. And
Except I always play to go first, so I don't have to worry too much about the going second decks, because they're more focused about the monsters that are setting up a big board, and they're not as ready for my back row.
That is true.
So 2 Gameciels, Water Kaiju, so I can pitch it with Swap Frog. I can add it back to hand with Toad, and it doesn't take up my normal summon, so I can still make plays. Mostly you just want to get rid of a Red Eyes Dragoon, because the Dragoon is just a very difficult card for a lot of people to out. There's a couple of main deck outs to it, like Ice Dragon's Prison, but it's just generally a hard card to out. You need to bait it out with something, or have a strike set, and then either take it with Borreload or banish it with Ice Dragon's Prison, but it's just not an easy card to get rid of for this deck.
This is just a staple you should pick up regardless. So if you don't own a playset or even 1 or 2 of the Gameciel Kaijus or any of the other Kaijus, just start picking them up. They're great to have, and especially for this one, in this deck build, it's a Water Aqua. I mean, it synchronizes with everything else you've got going on as well.
Yeah. And then lastly, we specialize in removing things from the opponent's field. So, 2 Lava Golems.
2 Lava Golem!
Half the time, I don't need my normal summon anyways, as nice as it is to have with the Gameciel. But the Lava Golem deals with 2 cards. So sometimes people try and build a really big board. Why not take 2 cards out with 1?
Oh, that's great. They can just like, I'll skirt around that raw sphere mode.
Right.
Here's a Lava Golem.
People do play around the sphere mode, so I started playing Lava Golem, and it just comes up so much more often having a Lava Golem.
I will say, I think less people try to play the Lava Golem because it restricts you on your summoning after you get over your opponent's cards.
True. People are used to seeing sphere mode here and there. People seem to have settled on having 2 good monsters on the field, so that 1 Kaiju doesn't disrupt them and sphere mode can't do anything to them. So I say, okay, I got the Lava Golem.
Oh, nice. Well, that's some real spice. Tell you what, can you show us maybe like one of your common link climbs if you ever have to go into that,
sure,
as well as any other, like maybe 1 hand or one card or 2 card combos you think. Even though this is a turn 2 reactionary style build and you run the traps, is there anything like specifically a good hand or a common open hand you want to show someone who's running this deck for the first time?
Well, any hand with Swap Frog in it is a good hand. So, yeah, if you want to see just an example hand, then we can take our Swap Frog in hand. Like I said, any hand with Swap Frog is a good hand. Our Greater Slime Jr. So really just Swap Frog plus any water. It doesn't really matter what the water is, but you can just make Toad pretty easily. Sure, everybody's seen this by now. Summon Swap Frog, Foolish Burial, your Ronin Toadin. You usually want to send the brick first, just because you don't know if your opponent's going to stop your follow-up. It's smart to wait to negate on the second summon, because if you normal summon first, and you Foolish Burial and you don't have another water, then it's just a brick that got out of the deck. It doesn't matter if it got Impermed or Veilored or Ash. But if you have a second summon, like here, where I'm discarding a water, and now I'm trying to send another thing to the graveyard, I don't have a frog in grave right now to make Toad with, so if you Ash or Veilor me here, I can't stop it. But in this case, we're just going to assume that you don't have it. And so we'll send a Swap Frog to grave. We'll banish the Swap Frog, special summon Ronin Toadin, make our Toad. So. And
there's your Toad. You're great. So going into the next turn, that's already going to be great, disrupting your opponent as well as continuing your plays and extending your plays during the standby phases. And again, that was off 2 cards, so you still have 3 more cards in your hand you can do anything with, which will likely just be setting and passing.
Exactly. But so you have other stuff to disrupt your opponent with.
it's just important to note too that this particular deck, I mean, so long as trap cards aren't just being completely shut out of the format, it's always going to be viable. It's always going to be a viable build if you want to go in for Rogue.
Yeah. Okay, so let me show you how you can OTK with this.
Sure.
One toad is all you need. So let's say your opponent did some stuff, you disrupted it with a trap card, and you are left with a toad. Usually...
So we're talking turn 3 at this point.
Yeah, turn 3. Because this is a trap deck, you're probably not going to die that quick. So usually you're summoning this on your opponent's turn. This is your board plus maybe some trap cards. Your opponent does something, gets rid of a thing. I don't know. They probably haven't gotten rid of Duke Frog. 90% of the time when they fight me and I do this, they can't get
fight me, bro.
Yeah, they can't get rid of this. So, but just for this sake, we're looking at the graveyard. We have a Ronin and a Duke Frog because they got rid of it. Duke Frog usually will have added a thing to hand, so we'll just grab our Swap Frog, and then we should have already had one more frog banished from Ronin Totem. And so next turn, we draw, standby phase, effect. We'll special summon another Swap Frog from the main deck. And here is where you start doing things. Swap Frog, Foolish Burials. So you send a Ronin Totem, because you need both of them in the graveyard to start just kind of doing things. Main phase, bounce to hand, normal summon, effect. Then you send your other frog, which is Duke Frog in this case, to the graveyard. Now you have 3 frogs in grave, 2 Ronin Totems. You have a swap in hand. You have an additional normal summon of a frog this turn, which sometimes comes up, not always. And then you will banish a frog to special summon your Ronin. Link 2. You make your IP. It can be Nightmare Phoenix too, if you need to clear some back row of some sort. Banish, special summon Ronin. Banish another frog, special summon the other Ronin. Link 4. Then you make your Boral Sword. And you still have your negate on board. You could negate by sending the other frog in your hand. You declare your attack. This is 2,200. Uses effects, switch this to defense position. Now he can attack twice and attack for 6,000, so 8,200 damage. And granted, this still allowed you to do other stuff. You could still keep going here.
Yeah, there's still some more resources in hand in terms of like in hand, both in and graveyard. So in terms of resource management, you can keep going if they try and stop you.
Exactly. So
nice.
That's just kind of the main way that frogs win, is they try and one-punch man you with a toad, or they out-resource you by stealing all of your cards and...
sure, playing that end game.
Exactly, so yeah, that's it.
Nice. Well, thanks guys. If you guys have any questions or comments about what you think things could do a little bit better within the deck build, feel free to comment. Just keep in mind as well that there's some core set to this, and the rest is just kind of player's choice about what we see in the locals around the area, as well as just the meta game overall at this current time here in October 2020. But again, yeah, feel free to comment, reach out, and we'll see you guys for the next video.
Peace.